Welcome back to the Gruber Morning Show. I'm Pete Gruber.
And I'm Zane Courtney.
And we're here to entertain you with all things alternative energy, sustainable use of energy, and electric vehicles and renewable energy sources. So the first thing we probably want to talk about is, what is that picture behind us? And it occurred to me as I was going through that huge library of pictures that I've been saving for many decades now, that this might be of interest to the car community. Do you remember how hood ornaments were really prolific? A lot of cars had them. And these days, I don't think you see that many anymore.
Yeah, they kind of died out really between the 60s, 70s, I'd say. Maybe 70s. Because by the time the 80s rolled around, it was more about, big blocky cars, and you don't have a scoop on the hood anymore to actually have a line down that you could decorate a little bit. That was all kind of gone. The airplane sort of inspiration with the 50s, 60s was starting to die out.
A couple of things probably affected it. One is the focus on aerodynamics. Now granted, that little hood ornament isn't going to make a whole lot of difference, but people wanted sleek cars. They were aware of, the amount of drag that you can get from having obstructions on your car.
You get more drag from the rear view mirrors.
Yeah, that too.
So it breaks my heart that we got rid of these first.
Right. And then the second thing was the kids started stealing them. Do you remember it was popular to steal the Mercedes emblems, and frustrated a lot of owners because those things weren't cheap to replace.
That's probably the other reason that Rolls-Royce goes in and out.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
both for aerodynamics because that way
it
won't get stolen.
So try as I may, I tried to remember what car this was on, and we're going to put it out to our audience. You tell us. We're thinking maybe Pontiac. We're not sure. So if anybody out there recognizes this particular hood ornament, we'd love to hear from you. Our screen, by the way, for the questions
comments
is
are
guys.
Here.
It is black. Up here on the, we're gonna get our question screen working here in just a moment.
And please keep sending us your comments. You guys basically run the show, and we love getting to answer. Pete is really good at answering all the good technical questions, and I'm here to help.
And for those of you that can't see our studio, what we have in front of us here is a couple of flat screens. And
here we go.
The one on the left with questions was dark.
Good morning to Ranyak Ghosh. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Good morning to you on YouTube Shorts and Bromans. Morning from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Good morning in Philly. Are you aware of here's a good question. Are you aware of the aluminum air battery with its massive battery density and not being rechargeable, but very replaceable?
Sounds like a good battery for flashlights, but I'm not sure how you do that with a car.
This was something that I was going to bring up a little bit in the last show because we didn't really talk about NEO. Or sorry, not NEO. Is it which one is it? BYD that does
the replacements. Yeah, BYD.
Yeah, and so I thought about that for a little bit, and I thought, well, we already talk about how hard it is to get into batteries and fix them nowadays. It would be kind of nice if there was some solidified way to swap the battery. Maybe not every month or so, but after say 8 years of driving, you're probably going to want to replace the battery, and why not just pop the thing out, swap a new one in, and it could bring costs down. And I think the aluminum air battery is a great solution to that.
Yeah. Well, Tesla does that very thing, but it's expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
You bring your car there, they'll swap that battery for you.
Yeah.
And it's not anything you can do yourself, folks. I mean, trying to drop a 1,200-pound battery in your backyard is pretty dangerous and daunting.
That's true. Yeah, can't recommend it.
Oh, wait a minute. Looks like we've got an Instagram.
From West Berlin 58. It's a Packard ornament.
Okay.
The old donut chaser.
The donut chaser. Thank you very much.
I was wondering, because it looked familiar. I thought you were right.
Yeah.
I thought it was Pontiac.
Yeah.
Could be, yeah, I think it's Packard. That sounds right. But when did Packard go out? That must have been in the 40s?
It was the
50s?
magnificent age of beautiful vehicles.
I know.
Every manufacturer attempted to, make a styling statement back then, and no one cared about aerodynamics. The 50s Chevys, for example. I mean, they literally look like bricks going down the road.
They look amazing.
Yeah.
It's a brick, but then you've got the little turbine, the little jet engine turbines.
And it wasn't until NASCAR, almost 20 years later, that they figured out that aerodynamics has a huge role in speed and efficiency. And that's when the wing cars came out, you know, like
Yes.
the Dodge Daytona and the Plymouth Superbird. And it was all because of a NASCAR experience where these cars actually attained close to 200 miles an hour.
And now they're like, all right, fine, I guess we'll make all cars like that.
So, you know, getting into the news items here for a moment, do you remember last week we spoke about the Electrify America Chargers frying a Chevy Bolt? And, you know, I made the assumption that, you know, any of these events, even one on the planet, is going to create a firestorm of news and articles. Well, it turns out that there are other vehicles that have smoked when connected to an Electrify America charger. And try as I may to find any kind of a technical solution for this or cause and origin, so far they're still apparently in the dark about what's going on here. But there's no doubt about it, certain chargers apparently are killing some cars, and they're going to have to fix that pretty quickly, I would say.
It's kind of crazy how it's going one of two ways. It's either sending too much energy and flooding the battery and causing an ignition, or actually there's been two cases of two different Rivians that have had the opposite problems, where one of them recently, or sorry, it was a F-150 Lightning that
The Lightning, yes.
the
Yep.
Lightning got break because of an Electrify America charger. But then there was also, most recently, there was a Rivian who, because of phantom draw, was left in their garage for about a week on the 240 volt outlet, and it only gained 50 miles back, which is an unbelievably small amount of power supposedly going in. I mean, it's taking in a lot of power, but the phantom draw on these things is unreal.
You know, the biggest issue here is standardization and universal methods of charging. And as Tesla usually does, they took the lead on this a few months ago when they announced their universal charging standard. And they published their charging method to the world, allowing other manufacturers to pick it up and run with it. It would be nice if, you know, that if there was a universal charging plug and socket combination.
I've been, since it got announced, I think that NACS is going to be the future. I think the North American charging standard should be that. It's easy, it's slim, it's powerful. I'd say let's just start there and work from there. That's an opinion piece, folks. But you know what, actually, I was just watching a great video by Marquez Brownlee, who just had a off-the-cuff video that he put out. It's a great one. And he basically mentioned the charging problem is the number one reason why people don't go electric. It's because, you know, the infrastructure is the way it is. And I think not only is standardization going to be a thing, but say what you want about gas, you don't have to worry about it getting plugged in and not working most of the time.
All of your gasoline nozzles are the same
It's
diameter.
the same, it's
except
the
for
same.
diesel, of course. and
That's true.
plainly marked.
That's true. Yeah. So okay. So you have to, but you know how many people? If you drive a diesel, you know you drive a diesel most of the time.
Now, wait a minute. Let me recall this now.
Oh.
The diameter of the diesel, is it larger or smaller than the gasoline?
I believe it's larger.
Larger. So
Larger.
you can't
Let us
put
know in the
diesel-
comments if you drive diesel.
Yeah.
Let us know.
So the only mistake you could make is putting gasoline into a diesel port.
Yeah.
And of course, that's not going to be, the car's not going to be.
Or
happy
vice
with that.
versa. You don't want to necessarily throw diesel into a regular, 87 engine.
Yeah.
87 octane engine.
All right, TikTok, Bobby Mart, 43. He says launch control,
Launch
exclamation
control.
mark. Yep, we're taking off here. Now we've got a technical question from TikTok from Kelly McLean, 598. She is saying, or he, could be either, I suppose, my 12-volt battery on my Model S is now 5 years old with over 60,000 miles. By the way, that is an achievement. Here in Arizona, with the heat that we have, we're probably seeing 1.5 to 2 years on those original Tesla Model S 12-volt batteries. Her question is, should I be proactive and replace it? No. The car will tell you well ahead of time when the battery is beginning to fail, and you've got at least a couple, 3 weeks before you need to deal with it. So I would say continue to enjoy this kind of a unusual lifespan on your 12-volt battery.
I'd say also now is a great time to plug that Gruber Power does in fact sell replacements for those Model S battery at 12 volts.
They are on our website, and for those of you that are willing to go inside the frunk and replace a battery, yes, they are available, and it's about half the cost of what it would take to have it done at a Tesla service center.
I love a good shameless plug whenever I can help it.
Why not?
From Thomas Curtis, good morning from New Zealand. Right on YouTube, good morning. From Sumit Gupta on Facebook, are you hiring?
We're always hiring. We have ads constantly running. They are Phoenix-based positions, though. So if you're willing to relocate or live in Phoenix, we'd love to talk to you about technician positions. We don't know what to call them anymore. Mechanic, engineer, technician. It's really a combination of all three. And the skills acquired, OJT type skills, are they are marketable, and they will look good on your resume.
There you go. Also, it's worth noting, this kind of ties into the 12-volt thing. Hey, you mentioned that in Phoenix, they're known to dry up. Arizona kind of has the opposite problem of every other state in the world, where everybody complains about the cold weather that affects the batteries. But because of lithium-ion, hot weather also tends to have a massive draw on them because they're very temperature-sensitive batteries.
Well, they have thermal management. And,
true.
When
Well, and it
spending a lot
depends
of
on what
time.
kind of thermal management they have. I mean, thanks to Tesla and the octavalve, those things are incredibly efficient, but not everybody's got an octavalve.
Well, we have a gender definition for Kelly McLean. It is a him, and always, you guys, thank you.
Oh, sorry, he's on TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok.
Right on. Excuse me, we have a guy on TikTok. I'm going to call him Reckon on TikTok. Diesel nozzles are larger.
Oh, okay.
There we
All
go.
right. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Well, I was confident, but I'm glad we got some clarification on that.
Hey, there's our first sunglasses question from TikTok.
Yes.
SLCRIC. Why the sunglasses?
Why not the sunglasses?
Our standard answer to that is we will have a frequently asked questions section on our website soon, but wait for that reveal video. It's going to be a very popular one because that question comes up not just once, but sometimes many times.
It's the question.
It is.
It's the question that defines the Gruber Morning Podcast, Gruber Morning Show. Oh, here we go. Trucker Alistair, good to see you again on YouTube. Great to see you. Does the Semi, this is, maybe we should get into that story a little bit.
Okay.
Does the Tesla Semi have reversing, moving side mirrors, or do I need to get it on the step and reverse it like a Peterbilt?
We were unable to really do a deep dive into that Semi that we were taking pictures around and filming just last week. I don't know if we'll be able to get another one in our shop or near our shop, but those are certainly the types of things that we would like to dig into.
Anyone got wood to knock on? We can. Yeah.
There actually was an article by one of the magazines that was speculating why this Semi was in Phoenix, and I'm going to read you some of their assumptions here in a second. Most of which were wrong, by the way. Here we go. All right. So they're saying it appears that the Semi could have been hauling equipment to the Day 3 event of the Super Bowl experience, which includes a concert from Jimmy Eat World. I don't know who that is.
Jimmy Eat World, yeah.
Okay, all right. Different generation, guys, I'm into Motown type music, and classical maybe. But anyway, the concert is to take place at Hans Park, which is actually downtown. I can tell you that based on a reliable source, which is all I can say, that this vehicle was here for Super Bowl, and it is Frito-Lay and PepsiCo's attempt to get some cool advertising. So the vehicle was actually at a wrap shop here in our neighborhood, and that entire Semi, all 40, 50, 60 feet of it, was going to be wrapped with some advertisement for those two companies. The magazine that published this article, who was interested and curious about why it was here, they reached out to Frito-Lay's Modesto plant, but they were not immediately available to respond to our questions. It's going to be a well-kept secret, it looks like, as to why the Semi is in Glendale, or going to be in Glendale. So anyway, the background is Tesla kicked off deliveries of the Semi in December of last year, but it was not the first vehicle of its kind to the market. Remember, Daimler, Volvo, Nikola, and others had sold all-electric Class 8 units before Tesla did. However, the Tesla Semi range is the longest at this point, with a 500-mile capability. At this point, Tesla has only delivered Semi units to Frito-Lay in Modesto, California. The parent company, PepsiCo, told this magazine article that it expects to take delivery of 15 total Tesla all-electric semis in 2023. Doesn't sound like a lot, does it?
I don't know. I mean, that's more than I would think to own, but because I'm not Frito-Lay. That seems like a lot of trucks.
But the cool part is that these vehicles have contributed to more than a 90% cut in greenhouse gas emissions as part of the company's widespread sustainability mission. I'm not sure how that statistic relates to 15 vehicles, but that's what the article says. So
maybe the fleet was 16 vehicles.
Yeah, could be. So anyway, Tesla will broaden semi output in the coming years to help companies offer more sustainable fleets. The company, Tesla, recently announced a $3.6 billion investment to expand its factory in Nevada to supplement broader semi production. So there are more coming, guys.
That's interesting that they're choosing Vegas, which makes sense. We've talked a lot before about a lot of the operation for EV infrastructure that's going on in that area, not necessarily Vegas area, but in other parts of Nevada. And how about that? Looks like we got another big thing coming into Nevada. So, hey, that's going to be a fun hub to go visit, I think, within the next 10 years.
Yeah, later on we'll talk about the migration that Tesla's making into Mexico and how much of a commitment they're making there. Pretty substantial.
Well, here's a question from SLC Rick on TikTok. Forgive me if I didn't pronounce that right. What big three auto companies have had the best pulse on battery future tech?
Oh, good question. The research and development that takes place at these companies is not it's not public information for a number of reasons. They're competing and they don't want the competition to know what progress or what challenges they're facing. So that type of information doesn't typically get released unless it leaks. And I'm not aware of any major leaks at this point. But Tesla with their 4680 cells is probably the closest thing we have to that. What we don't know is how many of these companies are working on the other chemistries, the salt battery, the graphene battery, or even like Jesse says, are they working on fusion? Now that we realize that we can get more energy out of something than we put into it, that seems like a future energy source that would replace everything.
And is it going to be cheap enough to make it marketable for the average man and bring it all back to for everybody? I tell you, I think you're right. I think Tesla would be number one for the development of the 4680. I think number two I would actually give to Lucid because they're also keeping in mind their own, between those motors and the whole powertrain of that vehicle, they're really conscientious about what kind of batteries they can put in. So I think in terms of just the efficiency of those things, I think that Lucid has done a particularly good job. You're right. It's kind of, I feel like with every vehicle on the road right now, we're seeing basically the same chemistry just because of what we have to work with. But between Tesla and Lucid, and I'll give Ford, I think, some of that credit as well, because they're also making these massive packs for the, not just for the Lightning, but for the Mach-E. And they've been able to do that with really low or no controversy around those things at all. So I think they're doing pretty good.
Sure. One would expect Tesla to be really at the forefront of any of this type of R&D. And one of the reasons stated was last year, actually, when Elon said that, with mature products now and the production process is nailed down and 100%, the teams that designed these vehicles now have time to work on other things. It's going to be tough for the up-and-coming incumbents, and that's why Lucid is so remarkable, is that they are developing and working on new technology along with trying to meet their production goals.
Yeah.
And that's a daunting challenge when you're in, development mode and you're trying to get your production up and running. I do expect Tesla to be at the forefront again. No surprise there, right? All right, looks like we have a YouTube question from Fernando Gomez-Prada. Tesla Y 2023 has cameras and no sensors. Autopilot does not stop at red lights or stop at signs. Only stop where there is a car ahead of the light. What's the story?
Well, there has been a big push by Tesla to, basically go fully camera and at least minimize the amount of other sensors that they need. I think that's partially to bring costs down, but they also have just an exceeding confidence that it's cameras only. That's all you need for a decent autopilot.
Yeah. I would feel much safer if there was bidirectional communication with the traffic signals. When I used to ride in my P90D Ludicrous, I loved taking visitors out on my personal drag strip here. Actually, it was Deer Valley Road with no side access, and you could see a half a mile ahead of you, and a median, so no one was going to pull in on you.
Yeah, yeah.
But you could do a ludicrous launch there fairly safely, and they loved it. But I would remind them, I'd say, okay, we're about to come up to a light here, and if that was red, this car has no clue that it can fly through that intersection and kill the occupants.
Yeah.
The only immediate solution to that, of course, was to have some communication between the traffic signals, which is not impossible to do. You know, most traffic signals now have cameras. Have you noticed that?
That's true.
Yeah, they're mounted on the boom for the lights. So it'll be interesting to see how full self-driving, accommodates the need for obeying the traffic signals without the driver being involved.
It is worth noting that on at least autopilot the way it is right now, they do a pretty decent, well, I can't say how decent, but in the Tesla that I've gotten to ride in, at least recently, they can still read those lights pretty accurately from what I've seen. So there probably is something to being able to develop the software to allow these cameras to read lights and things better. And minimizing the amount of sensors you need, sure, it's a great idea, but it's difficult when you're trying to develop such a robust autopilot system and only give yourself one form of data input. Sandy Monroe's been big on FLIR. I've had discussions with other engineers and people I trust, and they're skeptical about how you could use FLIR. I'm personally very on board with that idea of being able to use infrared, LiDAR, essentially what it is. It's not in LiDAR, but being able to incorporate other technology like that and do it relatively cheaply. We'll see what happens, but yeah.
So by the way, for those of you that joined us here later, that picture behind us is the glorious age of hood ornaments. And I was going through all of my old pictures and decades worth, and I tended to like to take pictures of the hood ornaments, the variety of them. This was from a day and age when car aerodynamics were not taken into consideration. Not that a hood ornament like this is going to make a huge difference in your drag coefficient, but and the manufacturers tried to outdo themselves with magnificent hood ornaments. We couldn't quite tell what this one was, thought it was a Pontiac hood ornament, and then one of our viewers chimed up and said, the Chasing Donut Packard ornament. And so for those of you curious what that is, that's what it's about. And again, it was from an age that was a bit different when cars were being designed with a lot of hood ornaments, and the manufacturers proudly displayed their logos on these. We talked about the fact what may have changed things is the kids in the 70s and 80s were stealing the hood ornaments. That was a popular thing, especially the Mercedes emblems. So anyway, enjoy the image behind us. Looks like we've got a YouTube comment from Bromance. He's referring to the aluminum battery. He says you can get 1,000 miles of range from a battery about the size of a large desktop.
I think that's still a work in progress, but I mean, that is a good amount of speculation that's going into these aluminum airs. And it's a great concept. We'll see what happens. This goes into the next comment that I see from Chuck Cordova 421 on TikTok. I fully agree with him that storage is going to be the next big boom.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit on the last show where it's like, look, if we can be able to literally get lightning in a bottle, if we could get one lightning bolt into a battery, I mean, that could give you who knows how much energy for a long time. So storage is 100% going to be the next big thing. We're excited about it. We're going to see where it goes.
Absolutely.
From SLC Rick on TikTok once again, what's more cost-effective for home charging, level 1 or 2? Ooh, that's a good question.
Cost-effective in terms of cost of the charger, or cost-effective in terms of energy use? Level 2 charges faster than a level 1. The level 1 charger, of course, is much slower. For older, like model the Tesla Roadster, we recommend level 1 charging. the batteries are marginalized and going on 15 years, many of them. By the way, one of the things, getting back to that other question about the batteries and the new types coming out, I was surprised. Monday night we were watching news at home, and there was a session about lithium-ion battery fires, and I guess it's getting national attention again. And they actually there was a fire department, I think it's here locally in Peoria, that was doing some testing with lithium-ion battery packs, overcharging them to see what the result would be in a controlled environment. And then, of course, the goal was going to be, once it ignited, which is the outcome, what would it take to extinguish that fire? We have experience with that. The first time we were overcharging a Tesla Roadster battery and lost the building in 2017. No books are written on how much to charge and what the charge characteristics were. From there, we put a lot of protocols in place, and we had another fire about 5 years later. And this one was caused by an electrical system, but nonetheless, what happens is when you have lithium-ion battery packs and they're exposed to extreme heat, like a fire, they will ignite, and they're very difficult to put out. A number of cars were lost. So we had a number of first responder and fire departments come to us with questions, how do we prepare for this? And we found a department within Tesla that was created to train first responders on how to handle these types of fires. But it seems to be back in the news, and all of us can't wait until a new battery chemistry comes along that is not as volatile as lithium-ion.
There's a guy I heard about in, I think it was India, who takes old laptop batteries and he'll make a brick out of, however many is 10, 20 laptop batteries. He'll make a brick of them and then rewire them so that they can charge a scooter. Mm-hmm. So what's fun is we can get this new technology and then it can all still trickle down into, hey, we're still going to be able to have, who could this be?
Whoa. What we have for you today is a visitor. And I'm going to answer the phone here. Hi, this is Pete.
Let's get her on speaker.
Are you there, Juliana?
Oh, I'm watching you guys. I didn't want to.
Yeah!
That was great.
All right, I'm going to hold the phone close to my microphone here. And for the audience, Juliana is joining us today. It's a creator and an influencer that we were collaborating with a couple of weeks ago when they came out to see us and shot a lot of video at Gruber Motor Company. And up on the screen there, you can see Juliana's channel. So anyway, we would love for you to communicate with our audience. We've got a number of people that are live right now.
What is this, a crossover episode?
Yeah, amazing. So, Pete, great to speak to you again. I missed your weather 100%. It's freezing here in Canada. I came back, and it was minus 37 degrees Celsius.
Oh.
And my driveway had 3.5 feet of snow. So it was crazy. I was like, oh, my God, I miss Phoenix.
It was beautiful.
And then
here.
I had to work. Pardon?
Oh, I'm saying yes. While you were here, we had some of our best weather. It was sunshine and, shirt. Well, for you guys, it was T-shirt weather. For us, we bundle up because our blood is thin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful. So I was missing you guys right away. But no, I appreciate you allowing me to call in. Super excited. Our video is dropping on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. That's Eastern Standard Time, so for your audience, that is 7 a.m., so they can enjoy watching our collaboration while having their coffee or their morning breakfast. And don't reveal what it is. We're going for a test drive with one of your rare roadsters. It is absolutely amazing, and from there, just like you said, we shot so much. So after the release of the first video, then we're going to do something with the T0. Well, no, first it's going to be our how-to about taking off, installing the Tesla Roadster soft top. And then we're going to do a piece about the T0. And then I'm going to do something a little bit fun and quirky about what makes the Tesla Roadster special. So, yeah, so much great content and super pumped up.
Well, we enjoyed having you and Eric. And for those of you that want to see what Juliana's channel is about on YouTube, you can find it under Automotive Woman. And yeah, it's up on the screen. And let me just say one other thing here, Juliana. Juliana is doing things similar to what Supercar Blondie is doing. For those of you familiar with that content, I happen to like Juliana's channel better.
Thank you, because I know how to drive. No,
Good
but
point.
that's racing, right? I was a professional racer for 25 years, and then I got into motorsport sponsorship, and then I had a lot of OEM manufacturers ask me to start reviewing their cars, and then a couple years ago we turned into a full-fledged business, and now we get to meet interesting individuals as yourself. And for your viewers, just so that they understand, it's like one thing to see you on social media, and then it's totally something different to see it in person. Like for you as a character and just as a person, like you're amazing, but your facility and your whole team are genuinely really, really nice.
Thank you.
So yeah, my whole experience down there was just amazing. I can't wait to go back.
Well, I didn't get to meet you in person, but I promise you I'm horrible. So.
That's not what I heard. Actually, when I was there, one of the viewers actually wrote in saying that they missed you, that the other guy that was subbing for you while I was there was, nice guy.
Oh, he's fantastic.
A lot of fun, and he brought fresh air.
Different personalities.
And everybody wants to know why you guys wear glasses. So I can't wait to hear why. So
Yeah.
This is going to be really cool.
It'll be a huge reveal.
When are you guys unveiling that?
Well, we're not sure yet, but a lot of these people that ask that questions probably never saw the Blues Brothers movie, so that would be one clue.
Oh.
But it's a promise that we will deliver on one day.
We will, yes. So one thing that you mentioned was the video on the T0, and I won't give away too much information, but I don't think we've talked much about the T0 with our audience. Just quickly in a nutshell, the T0 was really the genesis of the EV revolution, because without it, there were only 3 built. The original founder of Tesla, Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning, would not have created Tesla. It was the performance of this little electric sports car that convinced people that there was a market here and that it was a sustainable production process that could be put in place to make electric sports cars. But anyway, is there anything else you'd like to tell us in the audience, Juliana?
No, I'm just honestly, I'm really excited. Like the video is great. I mean, I don't want to give away what car we went on a drive for, or drive with, I should say. But it's so interesting. Everything you have to say, from your personal vehicle to just the industry in general, and then the fast facts people will learn from Tesla behind the scenes, some celebrity car stuff, like. It's really, really cool. Like, I was in the vehicle with you, driving and having this conversation, but then when you watch it afterwards, it's like, holy crap, this is like really, really cool. So yeah, I'm confident people will enjoy watching it.
So Juliana came out with her social media expert, Eric Depakamandi, and it turns out that he's on Instagram right now, and he just sent us a note. It says, "Was a pleasure to meet you, Pete, Richard, and all the team at Gruber Motors. And I highly suggest that you guys pay attention to this video. It will be released when, Juliana?"
Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 a.m. your time.
And you'll find it on the channel called Automotive Woman. All right, well, thank you for joining us, and we will be looking forward to that video.
Okay, enjoy your day. Say hi to everybody. I miss them. They're awesome, especially my Brian.
They're all here, and except for Brian, of course, but yeah, I'll tell him when I go next door.
Okay, awesome. Have a great day. Thanks, guys.
All right, you too, Juliana. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Well, that was the first. We actually took a phone call, during the podcast, and if that works out, we'll
That's
do more
what we
of
need.
it. Yeah.
We should have a little call-in number. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, Juliana and Eric are from Canada. She's from Toronto. He's from Montreal, and yeah, I can only imagine how cold it
They
was. when
seem
got
so
back there.
cool. I'd love to meet them myself.
Yeah,
I'll be darned.
One of the things that I found about them that was inspiring was, we take pride in our production capabilities and how we're improving constantly. But boy, I'm telling you, these guys, it was take after take after take, and it was a quest for perfection. And I finally connected with that and realized that when you put that much work into the production, it definitely is going to give you a better
Can't
result.
rush art.
Yeah, so I am
say it all
waiting
the
to
time.
see their video because it was grueling, but it should be great.
It's about refining.
Yes.
Yeah, no, they do good work over there. That's awesome. So, yeah, be sure to check it out. 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Automotive Woman. You can check us out on their channel. I'd love to get them back down here, and then we can put some of them on our channel.
And by the way, Juliana is correct. Her family was in racing, and she is an awesome driver.
That's awesome.
And there may be a bit of competition between her and Supercar Blondie, but Supercar Blondie really doesn't know how to drive the cars. Juliana, put her behind behind the wheel of one of these hypercars, and she'd know exactly what to do with it.
Maybe it's a challenge. Maybe Supercar Blondie does in fact know, because a lot of those cars that she reviews, nobody can actually drive, as far as I know. But
Good point. Yeah, yeah.
we should set up a race. There we go.
All right. So YouTube, Nolver33.
What's up, Nolver? We've seen
yeah,
him.
Nolver's3.
Welcome back.
There we go. Yeah, welcome back. We've seen you before, and faithful audience. His question is, do all lithium-ion batteries have the same susceptibility to fire from, let's say, a collision? Or does design and manufacture have any mitigating effect on this issue? And if one EV catches fire, the world goes nuts. Well, let me address the first question. The manufacturers go to great lengths to protect the cells from puncture and from collision-type damage. Because yes, if you short a cell and it overheats and it ignites, it then migrates to the rest of the cells. If you remember in the early days of Tesla, there was a Model S that was on a road in, I forget what the state was, but a pipe was in the road and it popped up as the car drove over it and it punctured the battery and there was a fire. And of course, anything new like that, people are curious about how did it happen and what was the cause, and that's where the lithium-ion fire susceptibility really took off, was from that one puncture incident. I think there was another one where somebody drove one into an embankment, a concrete embankment. But so to answer that question, they go to great lengths to try to protect those batteries, and they are improving designs. Then he asks, if one EV catches fire, the whole world goes nuts. Correct. There has been over 100 years of ICE vehicles. One of them catches fire, and it's almost ignored. Good point. Those of you that were around in the last century, Ford had a big problem with the Pinto for a while where it was catching fire. If you rear-ended the vehicle, the gas tank ignited, and there was a fire. And we've done research on this because I think we have a video out on this topic. The number of EV fires is substantially fewer than ICE vehicle fires, but it's not what gets into the headlines. It's the EV
It's all
fires.
part of being a disruptive technology. You know, people are expecting something like this to be new, something that we've learned from, and they're expecting no fires to ever happen from these sorts of disruptive technologies. And, you can understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, it's kind of inevitable. So you're right, proportionately, the lack of fires that really happens, the lack of data on this sort of thing is kind of a testament to how good it actually is, because it doesn't happen often enough for us to collect enough data.
And of course, the good news is that chemistry is becoming obsolete and will be fairly shortly, with all of these other safer chemistries that are being worked on and will be implemented into electric vehicles. So it's a temporary problem.
Automotive Woman on Instagram is back. Oh, good to see you. I'd love to get to meet you guys. Come on back down. Hey, if you get too cold, Phoenix is warm. So yeah, we'd love to get you guys back. Nolver 53 on YouTube. My wife got me for $150 yesterday. I've got 7. Oh,
there must have been a bet of some kind that you're going to have to share that with us. Lost a bit of money there. $143 bet, it sounds like. So one of the other news items is Tesla's 6th Gigafactory is coming to the Mexican state of Nuevo León with an initial investment ranging from almost $1 billion. We've covered this once before. It is near Monterrey, Mexico, and we put up a map. It's in the center of Mexico, south of Texas. But what's significant about this is not only the amount of money that they're spending on this, but this will become the most expensive Gigafactory yet. By comparison, Gigafactory Berlin was $5.5 million. Now, you know, those numbers sound small at this point. It used to be, you know, years ago that a few $100 million was an enormous amount of money. Now we're into the, you know, trillions and into billions.
But $5 million for a Gigafactory, that doesn't seem like a lot.
Well, then it goes on. It says that the Austin, Texas factory cost the company $1.1 billion to build.
Ah, there it is.
And it's huge. You know, and I'm sure it has much to do with where it's located, the price they paid for land, you know, and of course the cost of labor in that area to build it. You couldn't do that in Silicon Valley. And that's probably one of the reasons they relocated to Texas, amongst others, of course. But Texas currently, they say, is building 3,000 Model Ys every week. And it will also be the production center for the new Cybertruck, which starts at the end of 2023. Now, I've got something else for you here.
Real quick, Pete.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull this up for the audience. That article is over on The Verge, if you guys want to take a look at it.
Oh, there you go.
On The Verge, okay. There we go.
Oh, it's 10 billion.
Yeah, it's a very expensive factory.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's about a few simoleons there.
And it'll also be the first time that Tesla builds an electric car entirely in Mexico. There are other auto manufacturers that routinely do that, like General Motors with the Blazer EV.
Oh, so it's northern Mexico.
Yeah, and Ford with the Mustang Mach-E. They're already doing that.
Well, because Toyota is also building, Toyota and Ford both build vehicles out of that northern part of Mexico as well that come up. The Bronco Sport is built in Mexico. The Tacoma is built in Mexico. I think some other ones are. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know at least those two models are built. So yeah, Mexico is becoming a huge distributor when it comes to automotive parts. So it's no surprise that Tesla's looking into them to start more production.
And of course, cost of labor as well.
Yeah, right.
But Jesse, I've got an image I want to throw up there. It's the Lucid motor versus the Tesla motor. And this one is very compelling, actually. Once it's up on the screen there, what you'll see is the Tesla drivetrain. And what you're seeing here is...
This is the Lucid Air motor, keep in mind.
And what you're seeing here is the motor on the Tesla side, a transaxle, and an inverter. And to the right, you can see the Lucid equivalent of that. Now, the noteworthy things here are, take a look at the horsepower differences between those two. 429 horsepower and 670 horsepower for the Lucid. But the weight, it's almost half the weight. The Tesla version is 134 kilograms, and the Lucid version is 73 kilograms. So it's got enormously less weight and more power. The other thing I wanted to show you was there's a Roadster PIM that we've got a picture of. That inverter that you see on both of those pictures, the Lucid portion, the black portion, is the inverter. It's been reduced in size. The Tesla is round and it's still about the size of the motor. This was the original Tesla Roadster power electronic module. This thing weighs about 100 pounds. It's about 4 to 5 feet long, about 6-7 inches tall, full of electronics, and it only drives a motor that puts out 288 horsepower. So you can see how far technology has come in just a span of 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, wow.
So the question is, what will it continue to evolve into? And we've got a video coming out, it looks like it's going to be next week, about in-wheel motors, and that's going to increase the amount of space in EVs even more, reduce weight, and improve performance.
Lucid put out a video last year that breaks down the motor, the Air motor compared to even their other motor, compared to Tesla. And it's staggering that they can squeeze in. The reason why is a lot of that has to do with the way that they've configured the magnets inside of the motor. It's, not only is it a brushless motor, but it's also a much more articulate, what do you call it? It's a much more tight articulation of these wires and these cables. They are able to condense it all into a smaller pack, but that because of that, they're also able to squeeze in more elements that allow it to provide that horsepower. It's something fascinating. It's a great video, and it's done by Lucid, so they're the ones who actually break down all the components. They go into them, and they do comparative tests between them. And I think it was a Model S motor.
Hey guys, just so you know, we're at 50 minutes.
Ooh, time flies by.
I got another image that we can pop up, and it's the Lucid Cutaway. It's actually a cutaway view of this motor that we saw a moment ago that seems to be substantially more potent than the Tesla motor. And what you're seeing toward the far right there, hovering above the assembly, is the inverter. That's the high voltage inverter, and you can see how much smaller that is, but it's able to put out so much more horsepower. And then you can see, of course, there's a planetary gear housing on the left, and then the windings and the rotor and the stator. Pretty impressive piece of technology, and again, what fascinates me is how much further this can continue to evolve, because no one would have dreamed 10, 15 years ago that what you're seeing here in this cutaway is even remotely possible. Fascinating.
Yeah, I know. Just the fact that, I mean, like you said, the inverter size is cut into what looks like almost half, if not a third, of the size of what they used to be even in the Roadster. I mean, it's something incredible. And it's cool to see because it's like that all replaces everything from a combustion engine plus a alternator plus transmission, all these kinds of different things. Well, not the transmission per se, but all these other larger components that go under the hood. It's all right there. It is fascinating.
So I've got one thing that I want to share with you guys. It's what will you do with your Cybertruck question?
Ooh.
And someone collected some of the responses that were posted on Twitter regarding what these owners will do once they get their Cybertruck.
Oh, I'm sure these are perfectly normal human activities that one would do with a perfectly normal truck.
Well, here are some of them, and I'm going to throw an accent in here. Work on the farm and haul cattle.
Wait, that's an actually normal thing. But a cow is like a full cow in the back? That's bold.
Would love to see that. Here's another one. Stare at it parked in my driveway, sitting in a camping chair, drinking a home brew.
Now that's a good truck thing.
There's my
That's
kind
a truck.
Yeah. I would probably join them and we'd both look at the
Yeah,
truck.
it's a piece of art. It's modern art.
Then here's another one. Use as an everyday car and haul garden things. I mean, think of it.
That's
Take
another
a trip to
real
Lowe's
answer.
or down to Home Depot. This is a perfect truck for that sort of
Well,
thing.
it's funny because it's like, it is. And what's funny is I feel like it weirdly competes with the Santa Cruz and the Ford Maverick for that in that space as well. Because those are great grocery getter, family car, gardening trucks. Really.
Now here we have a visionary
funny.
and definitely someone thinking of the future. And
Oh, perfectly normal response to this?
Yeah, his comment is four-wheeling on Mars.
Yes. That's a great idea. Why not?
And here's one from Todd. He's saying, I will definitely have to up my clothes game and drive that effer. The Crocs are right out, black t-shirt is in. Here's another one. Showed my wife the pic of the Cybertruck. Her reply was, buy one. Looks like we'll be adding another Tesla in the garage.
There you go. If the wife says so, it's going to happen. Happy wife, happy life.
Now, here's a sentiment that I think is probably echoed. I can't bear the weight. It is painful. The product is so sick, even more than a Model X. Happy to be one of the first to get this masterpiece. All variations are secured with FSD, TM, DM, and RWD.
We'll see. It's funny, the closer we get to this sort of thing, I think I'm starting to finally feel the excitement that everybody else is. Because before I've just kind of been like, all right, fine, it'll come when it comes.
So having started a response to what will you do with your Cybertruck, send us your suggestions and what you're going to do, and we'll read them. So The question is, when you get your Cybertruck, what's one of the first things that you'll do with it?
I also love the lawn chair. I want to have a lawn chair, my Crocs, and my and driveway.
All right, so we were
none of those
confused
things.
earlier by Nolvers53, a YouTube audience member, when he said that he lost $150 yesterday to his wife, and his next response is, "Ugh, I meant to send that in a text to my brother. Whoops." All right, so we don't
Hey.
know what that's about.
Good luck, Nolver. Whatever's going on, we're here for you, buddy.
Absolutely.
It gets better.
All right.
I think that's a good place to end the show with a little bit of optimism. Hopefully we're going to see more Cybertrucks, more hood ornaments, and more money to Nolver. I hope.
Hopefully. And you know, the Cybertruck schedule, it does look like this year, toward the end of this year, they're going in production.
Well, yeah, hey, let's see.
We'll
And
do a
then
segment on-
2024, we're supposed to see mass production, so
Exactly, yes.
hey,
Yeah.
it's happening, guys. It's really happening.
And make sure you watch the Super Bowl to see if you can find that semi-truck. It's supposed to be parked out in front, and it will be there with its wrapped trailer portion, and we'll see what they put on the sides.
But until Tuesday, until after the Super Bowl, we'll all get to find out. Be sure to check us out Tuesday, 8:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and day of, day after on Spotify.
As always, we appreciate you, our audience, TikTok especially. These guys are always there with
You
us.
guys are particularly chatty, and I love that.
Lots of them too, and
Same with
all
you,
the rest of
YouTube.
the platforms, you bet. So we will see you next week. I'm Pete Gruber.
And I'm Zane Courtney.
We're signing off. Thank you.